Hello everyone, it's Kelly from Etc. Today I'm going to show you how to use your WordPress editor to style your pages correctly for SEO benefit and then some other benefits that I'll tell you as we go along. Now, a lot of times when you go to put content into your WordPress posts or pages, a lot of people tend to use the buttons that are there to style their posts. I'll show you what I mean. The bold button, the italicized button, the font color button, all of these options here that you can change your text with. And it's okay to use those in some instances, but there are a lot of cases where you should really let the theme that you've chosen do the work for you of styling your pages. That will make sure that your pages are consistent. So if you have a headline that appears across multiple pages, that all of those headlines are going to be in the same font, the same size, the same color. And you may not know this, but in a lot of instances, your WordPress theme has already pre-designated what those colors and sizes and fonts should be. So it'll assure that everything is consistent if you are using the predefined formats that come in your theme. So I have an infographic that I'm going to show you what those predefined elements are. And this infographic is also available on Pinterest. I will include a link in the description below the video. Basically, the first element you're going to want to pay attention to is your H1. Now, you want to think of your page like a hierarchy. You want all of the content to fit in a hierarchy, and that is determined by what is the most important thing to appear on the page, and then break up your content down to the least important set of information. So you'll always start your page with an H1 page title. This is important for SEO. Search engines are they're going to scan your page and they're going to say, what's the title? What's an H1? So that should only be used once on your page. Most often, that is the actual title of the page. Then the next most important content is going to be an H2 or a header 2. And if you notice the style of these headers, you can see I've got H1 through H4 on here. The style of these headers is similar and it looks like a hierarchy, so it also makes it very easy for someone to just quickly scan your page and look at the information, along with search engines to look at that information. Now, I'm not going to read all of this to you. You can easily grab this infographic or just read it on the screen here, but you really want to pay attention to using your headers and how you're using them down the page, rather than just clicking bold and increasing the font size. When you use a header, it's already styled for you, so you don't have to worry about, oh, which color did I make that header? What font size was that header? I can't remember. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. The other elements that you can do would be a horizontal rule. That's just a line that goes across the page. That should be styled in your theme to match your theme. And also block quotes. These are a great way to call out particular information on the page or just have something stand out on your page. This doesn't have to be a quote necessarily. These are also called callouts, but it's just a nice way to include some information on the page that is important so someone can easily see that. And then the bullets and numbered lists are also things that should be styled. So on this infographic, I also show you here how to make those styles appear using the editor, but I'll just jump over and we'll actually do that right on the site for you so you can see that. So here I've got a page that I've entered some information, and I've just copied and pasted my text in here that I want. And so I've got this headline that's going to appear on the page. Now my theme is styled to use the page title, which is text styles. That's going to be in an H1. Now remember I said that that's something that you only want to appear once on a page, and the search engine is looking for that. So I want definitely my page title to be the most important thing on that page, and that's going to be an H1. So I'm not going to use H1 anymore. So then here, when I have my first headline in the actual body, I'm going to highlight it and pull down and choose heading 2. I don't want to reuse heading 1. I want to use that heading 2 style. And I'm going to use that for these 2 paragraphs right here, the heading 1 and heading 2. Then further down the page, I have some more information that's not quite, as important as the first information. That's going to be a 3rd level heading. And then the last is going to be a 4th level heading. And you can see that you are allowed actually to go up to level 6. I don't ever really use that very much, and oftentimes your theme is not even styled for those. So try to find out which theme you're using and if it is styled for those headline options. But you notice how when I'm selecting those, it's styling them in a different fashion. So you would just have your headlines in that style. And what this does is if you ever decide to hire a developer and have that person go in and change your headlines, you won't have to go back through and edit every single headline on your website. All you have to do is change the style code for that headline, and it'll automatically update all of those styles. So if you decide later, I want all these headlines to be purple instead of red, all you have to do is have your developer change the code, and it'll automatically update all of those styles. So this is a much better way than simply selecting bold or selecting an underline or selecting a font color, because if you did that and wanted to change your mind later, you'd have to go through the entire site and find all of that information and update it manually. So the next thing we talked about doing was a horizontal rule. So I might want to put a horizontal rule right before this 3rd headline. So this is this button, and I'm just going to click it, and you can see it adds this headline here. So now let's just look at where we're at so far. I'm going to click the update button. I'm going to go to my front end, and this is just a generic theme, so there's not much style to it. This is the 2015 theme. But your theme might be a little bit nicer looking than this. But if you notice the page title at the top, that's my H1. And in the code, it's actually telling the search engines that this is an H1. And then there's my H2. And then down to our horizontal rule. Now that's a little bit hard to see. It's a little light. If I was designing this, I probably would make it a little bit darker, but you can see that rule there that I've put in. Then you can also do things like bullets and other things that we talked about. So then down here, I'm going to make this last sentence into a block quote, and that is using this block quote button. This theme is formatted to make the block quote look like this. Different themes are going to be formatted different ways to make the block quote styled, but that's how this particular theme does it. Then let me tell you one other little neat trick. Sometimes we get a lot of questions from people saying, why is it that, I can only put a paragraph? Say I need to put some information, and then I want to put an email address right below it. And when you hit return on your keyboard, it automatically puts a paragraph in between. And I hear some people say, well, why can't I just put that line, this email address, right below that line before it? Well, that is very easy to do. All you have to do is right where you want that line break to occur, press Shift plus Enter. Shift and then Enter returns that next line down just one line instead of putting that entire paragraph in between. So here, if I'm using just Enter, it adds that entire paragraph space. Here, if I'm using Shift plus Enter, it enters it just one line down. So that's a great thing to remember when you're entering content and you just want to enter one line down. And then the last thing I'm going to show you is adding a image. So if you want to add an image, you'll click on Add Media and say this is the image I want to add. It's important to scroll all the way down and look at all the options when you go to add your image. First, you have alignment options, and you can have that display left, center, or right. I'll make this one display right. This next one is an important one that I think a lot of people often forget. Link to. When you have an image that's just in the copy of your page, and the purpose of it is for nothing other than just decoration, you want to select link to none. And what that does is it makes sure that that image is not clickable, and you can't click on it and link to anything. Then you click update. A lot of times what people will do is that they will make that image linkable to the image itself. So when you're here viewing the website and you go and click on that image, typically if it's just an image for decoration's sake or just to add style to the page, you don't want to be able to click that image and open it. But a lot of times people will forget to look down at these options when they are entering when they're adding their image, and they'll choose, or by default, it'll say link to media file. And this is what happens when it's linked to the media file. Let me just update this here. What happens is then this image becomes clickable. So if you accidentally click, it's going to open this image in a new window. And that's just confusing. I think that's just bad user experience. So you really want to make sure when you just put an image in for decoration, just make sure that that image is not linked to anything. Another way you can do that right up here is just when you click on the image, you can just remove the link to that image if you accidentally do that. But when you're putting the image in the first place, it's easy enough just to scroll down that window that I had that showed the options and uncheck that option. So these are some tips that can help you really do a great job when you're styling your pages. And I hope that all makes a lot of sense and makes life a lot easier for you when you're styling your pages.